Good morning. 2 days after Christmas. How you feeling? Getting circulation back in your brain? Huh? There's not a lot of stories to talk about. I found one that I know a lot about from talking to people. It was this H-1B visa situation that now it's got Ramsworthy and Musk in some sort of a little tiff with the mega giants, all right? Let me explain to you what these people really do. I'm very experienced with the H-1B people at AT&T. Not only did I work in the cafeteria at AT&T, I did some private work, like cleaning service, cleaned a lot of their apartments for these people. And I'll tell you what I found when I went and cleaned an apartment. I'm not giving away any privacy secrets, so don't get, nothing. I didn't go through their underwear drawers or anything like that. I don't care. But I would go into an apartment, a three-room apartment, just like the one I lived in with my wife, that and my cats. We found it a little tight at times, but, for two people it was fine. They would have as many as 8 people living in the place. You would go in and the bedrolls or bedding would be spread out on the floor. No furniture in the bedrooms, just bedding so that these people could live there. And I had to talk to this guy because I had problems with him because we had some difficulties with him because he wanted me to clean the place, and he says, clean the refrigerator. And I looked at it, I said, this food's rotten. Oh, no, we eat that. I said, you eat that shit? Stay away from me, man. It was rotten food. They were eating rotten bad fish and stuff. They were used to it, I guess. I don't understand that. I mean, health experts would have had a field day in that apartment. But I sat down and talked to him. I said, how come so many of you live here together? He says, well, we save our money this way. We're paid good money, but we save our money. We come out of this, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars together that we can invest. I said, well, what do you invest in? We buy cash businesses. I don't understand. We'll buy a business that is primarily cash. She said, we'll buy a 7-Eleven type operation. She said, they're great for cash, We are technically savvy, so we can keep the registers and their security cameras from finding out what we're actually doing. But we own it, so we don't worry about it too much, We pay very little in taxes. We make a lot of money. And we'll do that for a few years or until we get investigated by the IRS, and then we just go home. Take our money and go home and live like kings. And I said, but don't you feel bad about it? She said, no. We come here, we stay over we get into the country by the H-1B visa. We do our 2 or 3 year contract, whatever it is, with AT&T. But basically they're slaves for that period of time. And once our contracts are up, we just disappear. They don't care. AT&T doesn't check on our whereabouts. We take our checks, our whatever investments we've made and everything like that. They don't care. They give it to us because they want us to come back again, and we don't. We're still in the country, though. Nobody checks on us. Nobody cares. We're not Puerto Ricans. We're not black. We're not gang members or anything like that. We're productive citizens. So we stay in the country and we run 7-Elevens and what like that. We don't pay taxes that much, and we send our kids to public schools and everything, or even private schools, which deprive other people of getting in. That's okay. We don't care. And if you don't think this is true, take a look in New Jersey at New Brunswick and Parsippany, where I used to live, and there you'll find out that they called New Brunswick Little New Delhi because of the Indian population there. And if you talk to ICE or somebody that works in that business, they don't care. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not selling drugs. They're productive members of society. Well, what's wrong with the Latin Americans that come to this country that are production members of society? Well, they don't work in technical fields to begin with. They don't get here in technical fields. They have to sneak into the country, you know, or they have to come in legitimately, which isn't easy, you know. The guy, the ambassador that I dealt with in the United States from Colombia that set up my original visa to come down here, which was just a visit the first time, was a pain in the ass. The whole operation's a pain in the ass. You know, I mean, but they don't bother you once you're down here. You know, I don't have check-ins. I have to renew it every 5 years. Now I don't renew it at all because I'm considered a resident of Colombia now. I'm not a citizen because I don't speak enough Spanish to get citizenship, but I'm thinking about it. If I could learn what I have to say to them in Spanish and just go take the test, I might do it. They said, well, you know, you can't have dual citizenship. Well, the way things are going, who knows if I want that or not, you know. Maybe I just want to get away from Donald Trump and the bullshit that goes on up there. Down here, I understand the bullshit. You know, I understand it better than anybody than I do up there. Because up there, it's bullshit. It's all gamesmanship and stuff like that. Down here, they just out and out take your money. You know, you want to get this done, it's going to cost you this. Okay, no problem. Pay. If you can afford it, you pay it. If you can't, you don't do what you want. You do something different. That's all. But this is the way. What was it? Back in the old days of politics in America, Georgia was rule. I'm saying Georgia. I don't mean to take Georgia specifically, but it's the one I had experiences with. That you would go into a small town, and if you needed something done, you know, there were two things you knew you were going to have to do. You didn't get inspected. You went to the mayor's office. You paid him whatever, $50 or whatever it was, depending on what you want to have done. You know, he signs off. You get a permit. Stick it on your door. Go do what you want to do, and nobody bothers you. It's not a every year thing. It's not extortion. It's just what they do. You know, and it's expected. You don't ask questions. You just go do it. You know you have to do it. You want to fight it, which you can. The house might burn down, something bad might happen to your kids. But that's, you know, the risk you take when you're dealing with a criminal entity. Well, it's the same thing down here. You know, they know what's going on. You know what's going on. You don't like it. You know, tough. You know, people are afraid to protest down here because they remember Escobar. And the government down here is pretty much as bad as Escobar was, only they do it under the guise of legalese. But getting back to the H-1B visa, that's the biggest joke the world's ever seen. This is where you say that, you know, Latin Americans are taking over the jobs that Americans want. And Musk and Ramsworth, they said the reason we need the HB1 visas, especially in the technical industries, in the tech industry, is there's not enough qualified workers. Why? Because if you're qualified as a tech expert, you can make money on the side better than you can working for somebody else, you know. It's done every day. Apparently, the tech businesses, I don't know not much about the working habits, but apparently it's a very tough job. So, you know, these, whatever, Americans aren't taking the job. Well, they're not enough qualified, and I guess, I'm not sure why that is. That makes no sense to me, but they say there's not enough qualified ones. That's like, they come in the medical field. 70% of the doctors in the United States are from India. All right, we depend for 75% of our medical personnel to come from India. Now, it used to be all the nurses came from the Philippines. I mean, I was in a hospital in the 70s, mid to late 70s. I was in for 11 days because of a car accident. And yeah, during the day, I met all the pretty little blonde nurses and everything, flirting and everything. Yeah, I got laid. And, that was great. That was wonderful, And you come at night, the bedpan changing people and everything like that were all either Filipino or from some other African nation or whatever, black, so black you could hardly see them unless they opened their eyes. And I had no problem with that. Their jobs sucked. I wouldn't do their job for 5 times what I was making at the time. That was just a horrible. It's nice to help people, but it still sucks emptying bedpans and scrubbing down old people like me. It's a pain in the ass. It's like I had to go, and I felt, you feel bad for nurses have a horrible job. But apparently, I was dating when I was engaged to a head nurse at a hospital in New Jersey, and for a short period of time, anyhow. And her, they didn't want to work nights. Nights was horrible. They'd work at it during the day when the doctors were around. They'd make sure the uniforms were short, and they'd walk around, be sexy and smile all the time and be nice. They hated their jobs sometimes, depending on what they did. But that was them, They I don't know how big the H-1B visa program was back then, or if it even was that. But this is what goes on in this country. There's a shortage of workers willing to do certain things. Now, there's a shortage of people willing to mow lawns for a living, so that's where the Latinos come in. All right. There's a shortage of doctors because it costs an absolute fortune to go to medical school. Okay. And it takes a long time, and Americans are into immediate gratification, and you don't get immediate gratification, So unless you're into that, unless you want to really help people, and there are not that many people in America that really want to help people, apparently. So we get our medical personnel, especially our doctors, from India, and then same thing with the AT&T personnel. You walk into, I'm not even sure they're still there, but they were doing some sort of job in Parsippany, and they built an office building, and I went there and worked in the cafeteria. And yeah, you had the older Americans all coming down. They were all management level people, and they all got fired on a Christmas Eve because the job was done. But who's doing the actual physical labor? Indians. They don't go to lunch. They don't do anything. They work steady, hard, for whatever length of the contract is. And I guess in the case of the building I was in was 1 year or 1 or 2 years. And then they just disappear. They go back in. They blend into the same society they've been living in for 2 years. Only not at six an apartment now. Now they get houses and everything else because they save their money and they don't spend it. Americans have this problem with where they spend, and then that's what keeps our economy going. But you need to understand that, and I don't think that we understand that culture. But they're right. They need the H-1B visas, but there has to be an enforcement level to pick up the people that overextend. Not everyone that overextends goes to work. Some of them, they play the game and they manipulate and they get whatever they can from us, and and they cost us money when they're not citizens. Now, I'm not against it. I'm just saying that there has to be an enforcement level there, so that when they leave office, they leave their jobs, that they have to leave the country unless they can, apply for citizenship. Most of them don't. Now, there was a what was she? Was she a teacher or teacher's assistant in this Catholic school I worked in? And I had a long conversation with her. She just kept getting a green card. She didn't want to become a citizen. You know? I don't know. Look, hey, figure this out, because this is going to cause some problems. With the immigration, you can't just deport everybody. They're only going to deport Latin Americans that wash dishes and deal drugs. So that's fine. But somebody's going to have to wash those dishes, and there's not an American kid growing up I know that wants to go be a dishwasher in a restaurant. Okay, that's it for today. Tomorrow is Saturday. I don't know what's going on. We'll see. I think there's some football games tomorrow. We'll have to talk about it in the morning. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good day.